All right, welcome to The Explainer. So, what if I told you the secret to losing weight wasn't about starving yourself, but actually about eating more? Sounds kind of crazy, right? Well, today we are diving deep into the Power Foods diet. It's this really fascinating approach from Dr. Neil Barnard, and it completely flips traditional dieting on its head.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we're going to look at why most diets just don't work. Then we'll get into a totally new way of thinking about food. We'll dig into the nitty-gritty science, check out the proof, and then, most importantly, see how you can actually put these power foods to work. Okay, let's jump in with something I think a lot of us can relate to.
Okay, first things first. Why do so many diets fail? It really comes down to this vicious cycle of restriction and, honestly, just feeling discouraged.
I mean, does this sound familiar? You feel like you're constantly fighting your own body when you're on a diet. You're cutting calories, you're avoiding even healthy carbs, and then boom, that overwhelming hunger just takes over. You know, by Wednesday, you're so hungry you could eat the couch. And before you know it, the weight comes back and you just feel totally defeated.
And here's the thing Dr. Barnard points out. This isn't about a lack of willpower. It's the method that's failing, not you. See, these old school diets, they work against our body's natural signals. They're basically setting us up for failure with all this deprivation and hunger. But what if there's a better way? What if we could work with our bodies instead of against them?
And that, right there, leads us to this huge shift in thinking, this new paradigm that Dr. Neil Barnard is all about. It's a simple but powerful idea. Stop worrying so much about how much you're eating, and instead focus on what you're eating.
Yeah, this quote really nails it. The whole idea is to shift from just treating problems after they appear, sick care, to proactively building health. It's about healthful caring, focusing on the types of food we eat, not just restricting everything. So what's the secret weapon here? It's something Dr. Barnard calls power foods. And listen, these aren't just your run-of-the-mill healthy foods. No, these are very specific foods, things like berries and broccoli that have these incredible, unique properties. They actively work with your body to do three things: tame your appetite, trap calories, and kick your metabolism into high gear, all without counting a single calorie. Okay, so how on earth do these foods pull this off? It sounds a bit like magic, but it's not. It's just straight up biology. And it all boils down to three really cool mechanisms that play inside our bodies.
All right, so here are the three big ones. 1, they tame your appetite. 2, they actually trap calories. And 3, they fire up your metabolism. Let's break down each one, and we'll start with how these foods help you feel full naturally.
Okay, let's talk about taming your appetite. It's all about a hormone called GLP-1. You can think of it as your body's built-in I'm full switch. And check this out. Research from Dr. Barnard's team found that a meat-heavy meal barely moved the needle on GLP-1, but a plant-based meal, it caused this amazing spike in the hormone, which basically tells your brain, hey, we're good here, you can stop eating now. And this happens way before you get that stuffed, uncomfortable feeling. All right, mechanism number 2, trapping calories. This is where fiber becomes a superstar. Seriously, picture fiber as millions of tiny little sponges moving through your system. It literally soaks up some of the calories and just carries them right out of your body before they ever get absorbed. And this isn't a small effect. A Tufts University study figured this could be around 100 calories a day. Do the math, that's like losing 10 pounds in a year without changing anything else. Just wild.
And for the third trick up their sleeve, boosting your metabolism, actually making your body burn calories faster. A 2005 study, led by Dr. Barnard himself, found that a low-fat, plant-based diet cranked up the after-meal calorie burn by an average of 15%. That's huge! It means the right foods can literally turn up the dial on your metabolic engine.
So, a 15% metabolism boost, trapping calories, controlling hunger hormones. I know, these sound like some pretty bold claims, right? But here's the thing, this isn't just theory. It's all backed by decades of really solid scientific research. So, let's get into the proof.
Just look at this timeline. The evidence has been piling up for years. You've got that 2005 study on metabolism, then a huge one in 2015 from Harvard. They tracked 100,000 people and found that eating more of specific foods, like berries, was actually linked to losing weight. That's not a guess, that's a clear pattern emerging from massive amounts of data.
And this UK twin study is just incredible.
I mean, by studying over 2,700 identical twins, they completely removed genetics from the equation. So get this. The twin who ate more of these special foods rich in anthocyanins, we're talking blueberries, strawberries, had 9% less belly fat than their identical twin, their own sibling. It's proof positive. Diet was the deciding factor.
Okay, and then they put it to the ultimate test, a head-to-head battle. After 16 weeks, people on a low-fat vegan diet lost, on average, 13 pounds. And the people on the famous, highly praised Mediterranean diet, they lost pretty much nothing. Zero significant weight loss. I mean, the numbers right there really do speak for themselves.
Okay, so the science is definitely compelling. But the big question is, what does this actually look like in real life? You know, on your dinner plate. Let's translate all this science into supper, and I promise it's a lot tastier than you might be thinking.
Really, it all starts right here with these food groups. You're just building your meals around things like berries, leafy greens, broccoli, beans. You get the idea. These are the heavy hitters, the nutritional powerhouses, just loaded with the fiber and all those special compounds that make this whole thing click.
And this is the perfect example of how this is not about deprivation. You can absolutely have delicious things like French toast. The key is just making some simple swaps. So this one uses whole grain bread, and it's loaded with cinnamon to fire up your metabolism, and blueberries that are packed with those fat-fighting compounds we talked about. And you don't even need butter or eggs. Delicious.
And the results can be, well, truly life-changing. There's this great story about Stephanie and her family. They had always believed their struggles with weight were just, in their genes. But by trying out a plant-based diet together, as a family, they found out that their choices were way more powerful than what they thought was their genetic destiny.
So when you boil it all down, the big takeaway here is really a shift in how we think. Instead of being obsessed with restriction, with what you have to cut out, this approach is all about addition. It's about adding these powerful, scientifically proven foods into your life. That way, you're finally working with your body instead of fighting it. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. What if the real key to health isn't about what you restrict, but about what you add?